Welcome to Undercurrents of Romance, the show that celebrates every subgenre of romantic fiction. In each episode, I peel back the layers of your favorite love stories and chat with the talented authors who bring them to life. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. Now, let's dive in with today's guest. Hello, romantics. I'm here with authors Elinor Lipman and hopefully Nikki Payne will join us shortly to talk about their new anthology, Ladies in Waiting. Welcome to the show, Elinor. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you. Very excited about this. Not quite out. Oh, it will be out soon.
Yes, we'll be out soon. Mine is just a an advanced reading copy, so I don't have the the final product there. But
Yeah.
yeah. So before we dive into Ladies in Waiting, I would love to hear about you and your writing journey, if you don't mind sharing with us just whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, sure. I was 28 years old when I signed up for an adult ed fiction writing course. I was living in Boston and it was at Brandeis Night School, and it was $35 for 10 weeks. And I had not written any fiction. So I started with stories, and the class would sort of change and leave Brandeis and meet at a church in Wellesley, Massachusetts, or someone's house. And so I had my first story published in Yankee Magazine, and my second story published in Yankee Magazine. And I believe somewhere along the line, I got an agent. And because I had 7 connected stories about the same character. I asked her, "Do you think I could write a novel?" And she said, "If you can write 7 connected stories, that essentially is a novella. I think you could write a novel." And so that was my first novel called Then She Found Me, which is the only one of my books that got made into a movie
That's great.
a long
Was
time
that Helen
ago.
Hunt was part of that?
Helen Hunt was
Yeah.
great. She directed it, she wrote it, she had me over for dinner, and she made it herself. Yep,
That's great. I
yes.
love her. She
Yeah,
seems so down to earth. I don't know if
yeah,
she is or not, but she just seems like just a down to earth kind
yeah.
of person. So,
And a little movie aside, my son was in first grade when that book was optioned, the first contract
yeah.
was signed. And he was out of college and working in Hollywood when the movie came out. It took 19 years from option
Oh.
to movie. And I introduced him to Helen Hunt at the premiere, and he put his arm around me and he said to her, "I hope you know you've made my mother's decade."
That's great. That is
Yeah,
great.
so that was, and I just at my 6th no, 15th wo 15th novel just came out in February called Every Tom,
Okay.
Dick, and Harry.
Great title. That is a
Thank
great
you.
title.
People like it. Yeah,
I do. Yeah, that's fun. That
thanks.
just reeks fun. So,
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
all right, great.
it's
Well, with Ladies in Waiting, it's an anthology. It has 8 short stories in it. It features characters from Jane Austen's novels. And I guess
yeah.
it was put together by the publisher to celebrate Jane Austen's 250th birthday. Is that right?
It is December 16th, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's
I
great.
know,
That's
and,
wonderful.
and it
Oh,
took,
here comes Nikki.
oh, good, good.
Let's see
Yes.
here if she
Yeah, it was a
pops in. Go
wonderful
ahead.
idea. The editor is Carrie Farron and with Gallery, and she came up with this idea. And even the title, I take no credit for anything except I contributed. And even the title, I think, is inspired. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi,
Welcome.
you all. Hi, how are you? Apologies, I have no idea what was going on with my laptop. It's still being a little weird, so let's hope it stays on.
That's okay. We just got started. We got
Oh,
to hear a
great.
little bit about Eleanor and her writing journey. So if you are ready, maybe you can pop in here and tell us about you a little bit and your writing journey.
Of course. My writing journey started a little interestingly. I started off writing all of these super fantastical Afrofuturist novels that were romance. and I was pretty sure that I was going to make it big on these space operas, and I started to get all of these fantastical no's, and I said, "You know what? Writing is hard, publishing is hard. I'm just gonna do something that brings me incredible joy." And I started writing and rereading Jane Austen, and I she's always been, of course, like, people think of her as a romantic author or as these types of authors, but I just found her so funny.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just, wanted to write something and think about something that brought me joy, and it was actually in trying to cheer myself up with Jane Austen that actually started my writing career. My first novel, Pride
Ah,
and Protest, is this kind of funny call to Pride and Prejudice based in DC. And it resonated a lot with the Jane Austen lovers. And I just kind of went on from there. I started with
yeah.
joy and with Jane Austen.
And
Well, that's great.
if I can comment on that, the editor, Carrie Theron, told me that she didn't know you, and so it was kind of a reach. She so wanted you to contribute, and she was so thrilled that when you said yes.
Oh, I
Nice.
love that. I love that. I love Carrie ever since though. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she's I recall hearing Carrie Farron's name many, many, many years ago at RW whenever it was at RWA. She was very,
Oh,
very well
yes.
known, very well respected editor in the romance world, and
Yes, she
kudos to
is.
you guys for getting to work with her. That's amazing. That's
Oh,
great.
I
Great.
know, I know. She had a couple of little suggestions, and, it was a wonderful editor says, like, "Well, I love it. Have you ever thought maybe about this? Maybe you could add a portrait of the Emma's dead mother in the house," and and name the author. I mean, the author, everyone to me is an author. The artist, little suggestions that just were so they were small, but I think
Yeah.
it was just what it needed and, a good editor.
Yeah. Those
Yeah. No,
nuances really set the picture sometimes. Sorry, Nikki, go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just going to double down and agree with Eleanor. Her notes were always about deepening the experience. What does this look like? What does this feel like? What is this? Um, can we
yeah,
see the telegram? Right? Like these types of things that deepen and bring us into
Yeah.
that experience. I appreciated
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Nikki's already heard this, how much I loved your story. Um, and,
Oh,
as I don't know if this is like an interview or just we're having a chat here, but
Yep.
it was I was reading it and it was like reading a novel. I just wanted like, what next? What next? What was gonna happen? And, that's like for me, that's like a big
Mhm.
deal.
Yeah, it
oh my
was amazing.
gosh.
Yeah,
You,
I love them both, but, yeah,
thank
you
you.
did an amazing job. It was just a uh, well, actually, one of that was where we were getting ready to go with the next question. We were talking about that this was put together as a celebration of Jane's 250th birthday coming up here in December. There's 8 short stories in here. Um, since we were talking about Nikki's story, why don't you tell us about it, Nikki? First, maybe just start off. What Jane Austen character did you choose, and in which book did that character originate with Jane Austen's stories? And then go from there.
Yes, I started with Caroline Bingley, and Caroline Bingley is a side character, though mildly important in Pride and Prejudice. And I started with her. I'm still sorry, I'm still blushing over Eleanor. Goodness. um, but I started with her because one, I find it very interesting as a writer to write these characters who are like complex or even if I may bitchy, right? And I find um maybe that there's a little bit of a challenge and like what happens if you turn this character into someone you can root for while not sacrificing the fact that she was still prickly. I don't think she just became a very chill girl by the end, you know. Um, but she started to see the benefit and started to see who she was and what she really wanted and how running after what you didn't want can like change your personality. So essentially, she is a free woman of color in Louisiana, and she's high status, and she expected to kind of maintain that status through marrying one of the other local gens de couleur, Darcy, right? And it was her full expectation that they were going to get together until this upstart, this muddy dressed little thing comes into play. There's an aspect of like class and colorism in that as well. The expectation that because she was light, was light, and they grew up together, that they would be ultimately together. And Dorsey does something interesting, and he chooses the other thing. He chooses the person outside of society, and it rocks Caroline's world. And she's like, you know what? If this world is so out of order, I'm gonna go and make order in a brave new world. So she says yes to a marriage proposal out west and gets on a train. And the book is actually her on the train mostly,
Yeah.
and her life is changing on this train. And by the time she gets there, I think she's wondering what she really wants
Oh, yeah.
in the first place.
A and she's this I mean, this combination of elegance and chutzpah, you know? She will just decide at what moment she is going to pass because it'll prove that she had the right ticket for the right compartment,
Yeah.
and, it's just I could go on and on.
Yeah, I thought that you nailed Caroline Bingley's, personality because I've watched the 1995 Pride and Prejudice dozens and dozens of times, and, so I was that whole just the idea of Caroline Bingley being a sandwich thief, it's just
I know,
I
I
know,
know.
it was great, it was great.
Speaking of
Right.
that movie, about so long ago, it might have even been, at least 15 years ago, then, I was asked by Huffington Post to look at all of the Pride and Prejudice movies and rank the Mr. Darcys from best to
Ah,
worst, worst to best, and definitely Colin Firth was number 1. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
agreed,
wow.
Yeah,
agreed,
yeah,
This
and
has
yeah.
but I had to
started
watch
fight.
I had to immerse myself and really watch the bad ones and the ones that were not true to like yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the one with Keira Knightley was 2nd, whoever that was, I forget, but anyway, yeah, that was a fun
That's
assignment. Of
good.
course, Huffington Post pays nothing, so excuse me for throwing that in, but
All right, Eleanor. Well, why don't you talk to us about your character and your
yes,
story,
um,
please?
my character, it was like the most pragmatic combination of things. First of all, my copy of Emma was so old and so, literally kind of coming away from the spine that I thought, well, I can mark this up and I can just turn the pages over and that'll be fine. So I'm going to do Emma. And then inside that book, I had this ancient um, sort of advertisement for a PBS series on great short stories, and one of them was Bernice Bobs Her Hair by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which was one of my absolute his book of short stories, A Diamond as Big as the Ritz, or just anyway. So I thought, well, in Emma, there's Miss Bates, and I think I'll have a story called Miss Bates Bobs Her Hair. And I didn't know what Carrie Theron would say about that, but she liked it. I mean, she liked the title, and then I went from there. And I didn't know, I don't outline, so I just followed my nose. But of course, I do feel my signature is, happy ending. So I had to have a
Yeah.
signature happy ending for Miss Bates.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And, so, yes, so
Thank goodness
you
for that.
go ahead, Ken Nikki.
Oh, I was just gonna say thank goodness for that. I love that. It was so joyful.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
thank
absolutely
you.
was. Yeah,
Thank
yeah, I
you.
loved it. And for Mr. Woodhouse too, right? So it's like
Mr. Woodhouse. Yeah, he woke up a
mhm.
little. Yeah. Yeah, I know, I know. I couldn't bring in I just felt that it was the logical Mr. Woodhouse is Emma's father
Yeah.
and widowed such a long time ago, and so, beyond like a nervous wreck, beyond devoted to his daughters, who he loves dearly. But he
Mhm.
worries, if it's snowing out, if it's anything, he worries about them as if they're like, crossing the Atlantic on a ship, if they're just, leaving to go to their own house. So I thought, well, he needs to be distracted a little bit, and maybe have his own love, even
That's
unlikely
great.
as she might have been, overlooked for all those years.
Poor Miss Bates.
Well, I was just gonna
She's
say poor
she's one
Miss
of those
Bates.
characters you wanna give a hug to, right?
Yeah, she's
Definitely.
not even
That's
that
why
appealing, though. It's not as if it's not as if Miss Bates, there's that famous scene where she is put down and insulted by Emma on a picnic, and, that lot of great hay is made of that in both of the movies I saw. But, it's not as I mean, she is annoying, and my story begins by her talking, and she's mad at Jane Austen. She's mad at Jane Austen, she's read it as if it were nonfiction, and she feels that she was presented as, a highly annoying chatterbox. So,
Yeah,
wants to
that was
set
such a
the record
unique
straight.
unique style of writing that short story too, because you felt like you were in her own story, but then she would make these references to the author, and it was really brilliant. I thought it was great.
Oh,
it
Great
really
thank
was.
you.
style.
Thank you.
And
Thank
part of
Uh,
you.
that tongue in cheek wit, right? Like that's the thing whenever you're retelling any Jane Austen. Like if you don't have your tongue firmly on the inside of your cheek, like what are we
Yeah.
doing here? Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
I know it, I know it, and, I mean, the thing about Jane Austen, it isn't it's not just the situations, but the turns of phrase. Her
Mhm.
turns of phrase are
Yeah.
just, and when I'm listening, because 'cause I've been listening to a lot of Jane Austen audiobooks, it's,
Yeah.
um, there's some very modern phrasing. Do you notice how when she wants to kind of dismiss something, she'll say,
Mhm.
like, "And then he did this," et cetera. She throws that in. Like,
Yeah.
she'll throw in an et cetera. It's almost like it's a little beneath her to bore anybody with even repeating what
Yeah.
they did
Yeah.
at that day or what they talked about. And,
Yeah.
not that that's a brilliant example of, her, wonderful, turns of
Yeah.
phrase, but,
Yeah.
she's unmatchable, I think.
Oh, that's
Oh my
great.
gosh. One of the things that I love that she does is like anytime a character says how odd, right? Like what is about to follow is like the dumbest, like the typically the most non-interesting tidbit or fact. So like
Yeah.
Harriet said this all the time. Like when his this person's birthday was like 3 weeks in or around her own birthday, and she'd be like, you know what? How odd that his birthday would be 7.5 weeks from here. And every time, like you
Yeah.
knew that after she started a how odd, something not odd and very dumb would come afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was just, I just sometimes wait for those moments, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know. The problem with an audiobook is you can't underline the things that you
Yeah.
Yeah.
like so much. You have to go, "Yep. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I
whenever you
know."
were approached to participate in the anthology, and this is a question to both of you, did you know immediately which character you were going to choose? And then the second part of that question is, were there any restrictions on which characters you could write about? I don't know, Nikki, do you want to go first?
No, there are no restrictions. She was like, choose anyone. I definitely knew that I wanted a person that people didn't like, and I knew that I wanted to find someone just um like, it was either going to be Emma's hypochondriac father, you know, not that no one didn't like him, but I just wanted like this interesting story of this hypochondriac getting remarried. And
Oh,
Yeah.
but
excuse me for interrupting, but that would have been the only one that was the lady in waiting was, a mister in waiting. That would have been it. That anyway.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
I got him in there.
Yeah,
I dealt with him.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's really funny. I definitely wanted a character that people had either laughed at, made fun of, or didn't like.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, at the heart of it, that aspect of you like taking Miss Bates out and kind of being kind to her is part of our like natural desire to see someone differently. And I think that was my major reason for choosing Caroline, is that I was really interested in seeing her differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about
Well,
you, Eleanor?
when I was asked and I said, "Sure," in fact, I'd be honored, and in fact, I'd be a little insulted if I didn't get
Mhm.
asked because every once in a while we just, and I know with Nikki too, that the comparisons people say, you
Mhm.
know, Jane Austen like in my books. So of course,
Yeah.
love that. So I said yes with no idea who I would choose, then decided on, as I described, Miss Bates and Emma, but so few restrictions that Sarah MacLean chose Miss Bates as well. So
Mhm.
Carrie opened my Miss Bates story opens the book, and Sarah's is the last one. So there's this arc of
Yeah.
Miss Bates gets two happy endings.
No, that's great. One of the questions I wanted to, I guess, ask both of you, if you have differing opinions on it, that no problem. But is why do you think that Jane Austen's story, or even the retellings, still capture readers' hearts 2 centuries later? Any thoughts on that, Eleanor?
I think that, one of the things is she gives almost all of the characters, like their happiness comes like after a second or a third chance.
Mhm.
Things don't work out, then she sees the true character of Mr. Darcy and
Mhm.
finds love. And I think too, and this is not my own quote, this is from the writer Carol Shields. I read a biography of Jane Austen, and she said that Austen, she, closed the gap in her books between longing and belonging. And I
Mhm.
think that that's,
Mm.
anybody can relate to that. And so on one hand, we have these, happy endings, and on the other hand, we have this brilliant writing, and who topped that? So I think it's the writing, and I think that people identify with, it's like people find their home, whether it's metaphorical, they've been misdirected or misassigned. And Jane Austen like brings them to their proper home.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah. How about you, Nikki? Do you have anything to add, or?
That was really beautifully put, honestly. And the only thing that I will add to that is that Jane Austen has this amazing quality to be incredibly, incredibly accessible,
Mhm.
and deeply complex at the same time. We are
Yeah.
reading her with ill-formed brains at 13, right?
Yeah.
And then you read it again when you're
Oh,
35and you go, "Well, I'll be damned," you know? And you read it again and you're 73 and you say, "Well, I'll be damned," right? And I think that there's just this incredible complexity in her work, and she does it, and she meets that complexity in a writing that is so accessible and again witty and funny. And I think that's the thing that keeps bringing people back to her, because you're able to climb right into her, and then you had no idea how many blankets were underneath that level. So I
Yeah.
find it
I
incredibly
think
rich.
I think there's something too about often the heroine is sort of the undervalued daughter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That it's sort of, there's the beautiful Jane is the beautiful daughter in Pride and Prejudice, and Marianne is the
Yeah.
beauty, the younger sister is the beauty and Sense and Sensibility. And yet that underappreciated daughter, and it's probably quite reflective of Jane Austen's actual life, um, that they're the heroes, the heroines of her books,
Mhm.
and they
Yeah.
get what they earned and deserved. And I think a lot of readers can identify with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have something, Nikki, you wanted to add?
No, I was honestly double clicking. I was
Oh, okay.
Eleanor is just so right on that I was like, hands down. No, absolutely.
All
Oh,
right.
thanks.
Well, I could sit
Mm,
here and talk to you both about Jane and these stories for the next hour, but I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time here. So before we go, can you give us a hint of what each of you have coming up next outside of the Ladies in Waiting anthology? Do you have any projects you're working on or looking forward to or
yeah.
anything?
I do. I had a book of mine called The Inn at Lake Divine came out in 1998, and it's the first time I'm writing a sequel. I've never done this before. So sometimes I think I'm like, why did I open my big mouth? But so I'm writing a sequel, and I'm not quite halfway through, and it's going to be called Under New Management, and it's only set um, yes, it's only set 10 year. No, it's set kind of right after the Inn at Lake Divine takes off.
Okay.
So still
All right,
dealing
great.
with the anti-Semitism is a big theme in the first book, and we haven't fixed that yet.
Yeah, no, not even
No.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right. Uh, all right. Nikki, how about you?
Nikki.
What can you tell us?
I just released a, novel, The Princess and the PI. It is
Great cover
a
on that, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a
Oh, I
great
love
cover.
it. It's it's a romantic suspense. It's a little bit of mystery, a little bit of love, and, if you read it and you notice some, um, Northanger Abbey connections, then that's just you and your weird brain, not me, okay?
All right, great, great, great. All right, folks. Well, when this
That sounds
episode
great.
airs, Ladies in Waiting will be out, so be sure to order your copy today. You can check out Nikki's website at nikkipaynebooks.com, and Eleanor is at elinorlipman.com. Nikki, what social media platform are you most active on?
Mostly on Instagram, and that is, Nikki Payne Books on Instagram
Okay,
as well.
nice and easy. How about you, Eleanor?
I'm not great at that. I do. I post, self-promoting things when, there's some usually I don't post children. I have grandchildren. I don't do that. But Instagram and Facebook, but not very often. I'm sure my publisher would like me to do it more often. But yeah,
You
I've
know
posted
what? We
several
could
times
probably
about.
do so many things more often, but we have to write those books too, don't we?
That's right, that's right. But just last week, I was at, an exhibition at Sotheby's in New York with Jane Austen first editions, and I took some pictures of, me
Oh my
me with the
gosh.
first, and so I did post
Wow.
that in honor of Ladies in Waiting. Yeah, oh,
Wow.
Nikki, it was really something. Yeah,
Did you
Wow.
try to
yeah.
pet them?
Oh, no, behind glass, but they had a
Oh,
first
shoot.
edition. They had the first page of Emma shown, so of course, loved that, and Pride and Prejudice, in 2 volumes of Pride and Prejudice, etcetera.
Wow.
Yeah, it
I've
was
got to go look
thrilling.
at your social media feed because
Me
I want
too.
to see those pictures. That's
Okay,
great. All right.
good. Oh, thank
All right.
you.
Well,
Thank you
huge
for
thanks to
having
you both
us.
for joining. Oh gosh, my pleasure. This was such a treat, and congratulations again on this release. I can't wait for folks to get their hands on it.
Oh,
November
thanks.
4th, I think. November
Yeah,
4th
I
is
think
the
that's
release
right.
date.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
excellent.
Okay.
All
See you,
right.
Nikki. See you on the trail.
See you, definitely. Bye now. What a pleasure to meet you.
Okay, okay,
Many,
lovely.
many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed
Oh,
this week's episode of Undercurrents of Romance. You can find more information about the show at tracydevlyn.com/podcast. Undercurrents of Romance is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'll be back soon with another great romantic read. In the meantime, enjoy the adventure, everyone.